All right, good evening. We're gonna start off this morning with there we go again. This evening is an executive session, 4056A. Right, personnel. We have two interviews to do, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make a motion to go into executive session subject to 4056A.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Sam? Aye. Paul? Aye. Mallard?
Aye.
I vote aye also. We will be back with everybody. Ms. Woods, you are present? Excellent.
Aye.
Oh, we'll go back to the break room.
Okay.
It's excellent. You'll love it back there.
I'll make a motion to come out of executive session.
I will second it. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 4-0. It is 6:30, we will start the regular council meeting, we have 4 councilors present, Councilor Martin is missing this evening. If you are able, could you please rise for the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good morning, yeah, good evening again, we will get this started with a board of assessors meeting.
Yeah, do you want me to start?
I'm gonna make a motion to go into a board of assessors meeting. Yeah, please.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Sam? Aye. Paul? Aye. Owen?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. I will apologize. I am way off this evening. I still think it's morning. Vernon, would you like to start us off?
Yes, thank you. Good evening. I have 3 abatements to go over tonight. They are, the first 2 have access issues, so I thought I'd present them together tonight for you, and the applicants are arguing that the discount that was applied by KRT was not enough, and I do agree to an extent. The first one is a vacant or unimproved parcel, meaning that there are no buildings on the parcel. And the second one is improved with an off-grid cabin. And the third abatement is land that I believe doesn't exist at all. So the first page is your abatement summary, so there's the list there, and I included map and lots for you this time, instead of account numbers. So hopefully that will help. So page 3 is your, the first one to consider tonight, abatement number 5. The owner is Melinda Main, and the property is map 13 lot 9, 236 Heights Pond Road. The argument is that the lot is being valued as having a right-of-way access and being a buildable lot. It was surveyed, and the town code enforcement has reported the lot as being unbuildable in its current state. So as I analyzed this one, I did agree that a more substantial discount was warranted on this. I believe only 5% is given, and I'm recommending a 50% discount on the entire lot. So basically, the lot itself is a little over 19 acres, and it meets dimensional requirements. It has an existing cleared area that was prepared, but it lacks a right-of-way access over the abutting lot, map 13 lot 12. And there's a road that, or a driveway that, if you want to go to, getting ahead of myself, if you want to go to page 5, you're going to see the tax map that shows lot 9 highlighted, and this is the lot that is the abatement request is for. The owner also owns lot 10-1, which is on Knights Pond Road. Okay, so I'm not sure how they got to the lot, but further south below, in the area that goes around 9B is where the cleared area is. Okay, so there was some access to this lot at one time. But it is true that Jenny McKay did decline to issue a building permit on this lot because the right of way that's being used for 9B, which we thought was valid for lot 9, is not. There is no legal right of way for 9 over that existing driveway that 9B uses. So that being said, there are access issues that vary in severity. And so I think in the beginning, we thought that this was only a small or a slight severity of an access issue, where it actually is more of a moderate access issue. So I am recommending a 50% abatement on a 50% discount, which amounts to an abatement of $99,000. So that the net adjusted value of the 19 acres would be $152,700. would you like me to continue to the next abatement, or do you want to consider these separately?
You might as well just do them one at a whack.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot easier than trying to go back and forth.
Yep, absolutely.
So on the table right now for the council is the first one, which is map 13, lot 9. You're looking to adjust it by 99,000, correct? For the value.
Correct.
Yeah.
The value would be 152.
Yep.
1,700, the value abated 99,000.
99,000.
Do we?
Any questions from the council?
I guess my only question just would be so when you determine the abatement amount, is that compare land value to, for example, 10-1, like here? Just an informative question.
Yes, what it is that we're taking a discount off of the value. So the way that land is valued in South Berwick is that we have a home site value. And that is the bulk of the value of any lot. Then you have rear land or excess land after that. So buildable area or a home site can be anywhere from like 100 to 200,000 an acre. An acre. And then rear land is anywhere from like say $3,000 to $10,000 per acre. So it's a much lower value, and it's kind of creating a manual land curve because a half acre is not worth half as much as 1 acre. So what I'm doing is actually kind of a data correction. What I'm not doing an appraisal on this property outside the mass appraisal that has already been done. So what I'm doing is instead of a 5% discount, I'm doing a 50% discount on the home site. And that's what gives that discount of or the abated value of 99,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would move that we approve a abatement. If we need the numbers in there, I can do it. For a net adjusted value of $152,700. The value abated $99,000 and the taxes abated $1,239.48
For map lot.
for
13.
map and lot 13-9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion on this piece of property? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also. That motion passes 4-0. Moving to the next one.
Okay, so this will be abatement number 6. And this is the property of 138 Belmarsh Road. It's map 4 lot 8. And the argument for this is that the lot has access issues and there are shoreland zoning restrictions. And the abatement application is on page 15. As you can see, on the backside as well, the argument is expanded there. Basically, similar idea. We had only given a 5% access discount for this property, and I do believe that more is warranted because we learned the applicant has provided a copy of the right-of-way agreement that exists. And basically, if you look at the tax map, you're going to see lot 8. Right, and that's highlighted, that's the lot in question. And I put a little green line at the approximate location of where the right of way is. And it's described in this recorded right of way agreement that is included in your packet on page 19. And as you can see on the second and third paragraphs, the right of way is only 12 feet wide. And is limited to passenger vehicles and no installation of utilities. So that's quite a restriction. They may have access to the property, but they can't put utilities on their property. So learning this, I felt, yes, we definitely need a deeper discount for the access issue. And I felt it was pretty much in the moderate range, not the little range, right? So taking a look at it, the shoreland restrictions were really not as relevant for me in this argument because there is already a building on this lot. There is an off-grid cabin. It is, has a CO, so it's, it can be occupied. So it wasn't, and it's only being assessed for one building lot. We're not assessing it for more than one. But I thought a 50% discount was also warranted on the land portion of the value of this property as well. So that would, the original assessed value before exemption was 263,300. And by applying a 50% discount to the home site, we're getting the total value down to 202,500. The net assessed adjusted value of 198,500. There's a solar exemption on this property. So the value abated would be 60,800 and the tax is 761.
Anybody have any questions for Verna?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the tax abatement for map lot map lot 4-8. And in the amount for a net adjusted value of $198,500 for an abated value of $60,800 with taxes abated at the amount of $761.22.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. We will move on to the last one.
All right, this is abatement number 33. This is essentially an administrative abatement. These are abatements which I discovered that there was an issue and that I would like to, resolve it without requiring the taxpayer to submit an abatement application. So basically, if you look at page 23, you're going to see a portion of map 3. And in yellow is highlighted what we believed was a split. So we thought a deed that was recorded and effective for April 1 last year was splitting lot 32. And in fact, it actually was conveying the whole lot. So we didn't discover this and confirm it until after commitment. So what happens is we had taxed 2 lots there. Okay, so map 3 lot 32 is a lot that really just doesn't exist. And so the full assessed value was 126,200. And so I'm asking for the value to be abated in full of 126,200.
Any questions on this one for Verna?
Can I just restate what I think I understand to be the situation? So we thought that the piece of property was going to be split. And we therefore kind of assessed taxes assuming the split, and then later found out the split was not taking place.
So deed is recorded and it was, I wonder if I have it here. And it's one of the clues in the language of a deed to tell us whether it's going to be a split. Is that it says it conveys a portion of the previous deed book and page. And that's what this deed said. And when we plotted it, and the acreage was less than what we were assessing lot 32. So we thought that there was remaining area on lot 32. And we assessed the new lot that was deeded out. So, but sometimes in certain areas of town where there's not a lot of surveys and we're not sure what the acreage is. And so, the map and the lot lines are not accurate. And so when something gets deeded out, I think, what did we say it was? I sent a letter to Geller too. We were assessing lot 32 as 10 acres. So it was obviously, an estimate, of best, knowledge that we had at the time. And so the deeded area was 7.83. So we thought there was 2.17 acres of remaining area. But there was.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion to accept the tax abatement recommendation for map lot 003-032 with an adjusted value of 0, a net adjusted value of 0, a value abated of $126,200 for an abated tax value of $1,580.02.
Second, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 4-0. That is it for the Board of Assessors.
That is all I have for you tonight.
Excellent, thank you so much, Verda.
I'll make a motion to close the Board of Assessors at 6:45.
We'll second that. All in favor, Chair? Aye. Falk? Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you, Brian.
We will now reconvene town council meeting, and we will start with public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to comment on something that is not on the agenda this evening? No. Please step to the podium, speak close, quiet,
Okay,
close to the microphone, name and address.
Bob Eager, Warren Pond Road. I'm here, I had a question, I own some property on, Bennett Road. I was out there last fall, noticed there was a new house getting built. Which I was sort of surprised at, as I thought by, road standard ordinance, until the road had been brought up to the next level of improvement, that no building permits would be issued out there, as had been the standard for, since mid-1980s, when the road standards went into effect. I asked, Jenny about it, and she said she had issued a building permit on the basis of, the attorney's opinion. But I have not, she was gonna get that to me, but I have not heard. I brought it up to planning board, and to the best of my knowledge, they haven't heard the reasoning behind it. But as a landowner out there, who I thought, my, property was non-buildable, basically because the road was not up to snuff, and it would be cost prohibitive to bring it up to snuff. That in fact may not be the case. I'd like to know what my property is actually worth.
This is Bennett Road off Wichita, correct?
Yes.
Gal, you wanna? Is something we can? We're working on that, correct? We
Been working with the lawyer.
working with a lawyer on it?
We've been working with our attorney on, language, clarifying language. I'm not able to answer for the code enforcement officer, but I will tell you that the attorney has been working for that. The language, does what it's supposed to. I can have more information for you tomorrow, about it, but I would have to defer to the code enforcement officer.
So one of the things that did happen, the previous attorney firm that we used had approved that permit when Jen had gone through and talked to them, I believe. They had approved that permit, said it was okay to go, that's why it was issued. The new firm that we're using doesn't so much agree with that. And so we're looking at trying to adjust the language. So it's in a working stages right now with legal counsel.
But you don't know what the previous opinion was that allowed it. I just,
He said he didn't remember. An attorney that we were paying hundreds of dollars an hour to did not write it down. And when I called him on it, he said, "Oh, I don't remember." And that's why he's no longer our attorney. So I apologize for that, Bob, but that's why that's one of the issues that we've been doing. We're trying to get it right with the new attorney.
okay,
I'll let you know as soon as we have information. I'll make sure that Jenny reaches out to you.
yeah, because I talked about this with a number of people, and they have questions, and they're surprised at
Yeah,
what happened, so,
yeah,
that's okay.
that's it. Well, I'll reach out to you as soon as I get more information.
Mr. Chair, might I comment on that for 1 second? Do we do that during public comment, or should I wait, or?
Let's get the defining from legal before we.
Okay,
speak on that, because I have a few things I'd like to say also, but anyway, we'll wait until legal comes back to us and if you do not hear from anybody, please send us an email and let us know. Make sure you kept in the loop. Mr. Steinhardt.
Tamara Steinhauer, 19 Hill Drive. I was at the budget workshop last week and then went home and watched it again. It was riveting. I just had one comment about the whole communication thing, and I think a lot is being made of a little, and I think the town council may be looking at creating a problem to solve one. I think it would be interesting if, before we spent thousands of dollars on any new tech or personnel or anything to improve communication, it would be interesting to find out what people's expectations are of how would you like to receive information just for kicks? You know, do you want an engraved invitation? Do you want door-to-door service? What is it you want? Because here's what we supply, ABC. What part of that don't you get? And I remember completing a survey years ago about the whole marijuana thing. We had people set up here. Can we do some sort of survey? Either, you know, on the bulletin, because I see everyone complains there about, you know, I never heard about it. I never hear about anything. Those are the people that I think should be targeted and asked, how would you expect to hear in this day and age? So we don't spend $40,000 on stuff we don't need. And the final point of that is on the agenda and on the town website, town council meetings say they start at 6 p.m. Can that be kind of like that communication person be in charge of changing that? That would be awesome. Thank you.
Speaking of that, I want to add that to the next agenda. Of changing town council meetings to starting at 6 p.m. Thank you. So instead of changing that, hopefully we can just change the starting time, 6 being a little easier for everybody. And keeping our nights a little shorter. Maybe we won't roll past 9 o'clock so easily. Anybody else? Yeah.
Hi. Brad Christo, Oldfields Road. I wrote, you folks in the planning board a letter on December 30th, I believe, concerning LD 1829. And Tim acknowledged it, and Carl. The planning board has it in its packet tomorrow. Their procedures are different than yours as to when they publish letters. Anyhow, so I guess I'm not gonna read that letter because it's too lengthy to read aloud. But I hope that for those who have or who will read the letter, that it's helpful considering the number of issues that are coming up regarding the 1829. And then as I was understanding more, or think I was understanding more, the issue of how the town is gonna work with accommodating LD 1829. It's become apparent that there's work in the planning board and it's been presented here. And I think it's part of your whole business, at least it's in the packet for tonight. A discussion about the synoptic survey in neighborhoods, which I don't understand. And so I wrote a letter addressing that with questions to the planning board. My intent was to read that tonight. I'm going to spare you that and ask Carl if he could just make sure you folks can see that, because I'll read it tomorrow night at the planning board. But the issue for me is there's no explanation or white paper out there as to why we're doing this in context of LD 1829. And I get concerned when we start devising neighborhoods based on what criteria with very distinct boundaries and names, and proportioned town. So anyhow, you'll get the letter that addresses that more in detail. Okay, Mr. Chair?
Good for me.
Good for you. It seems as though that you were not seeing something, or?
I have your letter from the 30th, but you're referring to that it sounds like we don't have yet regarding the synoptic surveys. We have not seen that.
No, I have here, I decided not to read the letter, but the planning board does have it. It's in their packet tomorrow.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Melissa Costello, Waits Corner Road. It says, in the last budget workshop that you guys had, it said Chair James indicated that a consolidated list of council priorities and concerns would be compiled and presented for council review at the regularly scheduled town council meeting on Tuesday, January 13th, 2026, 6:30 p.m. I do not see that on tonight's agenda. I'm sure it was an oversight. But I was just wondering when that might come to as an agenda item, so that maybe the public could actually have some input on the individual priorities of our elected councilors.
I will ensure it's on the next agenda. Once I provide it to Monique.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Anybody online? We did receive some correspondence from a resident out on Row Fields Drive. Speaking about the road project, I answered it. I got some more questions back, so I will continue to answer that to see if I can relay their concerns. But other than that, that's the only correspondence I've seen we've received lately. So moving on from that, from public comment, we will move over to the town manager's report. Tim, it's up to you.
Mr. Manager, members of the council, members of the public. I'd like to report, the January 13th, 2026, the highways used 1,000 tons of salt, so far this year. They usually use about 2,200 annually, between 2,200 and 2,400, so they've used 1,000 so far. On January 8th, one of our town plow trucks was involved in a vehicle accident. No injuries, but the rear end was taken out of the truck. It wasn't our fault, but somebody who was driving with the sun in their eyes didn't see us and hit our truck. Kudos to the driver of the truck, as he recognized what was about to happen. And he had his plow and his wing on, and he drove the truck into the snow bank, took a hard right. So she didn't hit head on into the plow, and hit the back end instead. Truck will be out of service. The insurance is, we got a used rental that we're using in place of that one. And that's being paid for by the insurance. Police department had 9 arrests, 8 accidents, 318 traffic stops. Chief Ruger commended his officers because that's the most traffic stops in York County in last 2 weeks, other than the Maine State Police Turnpike Unit, which was 388. Most departments are stopping anywhere between 60 to 85 cars. We did 300. So certainly they're out there getting visibility. Fire department had 19 calls in the last 2 weeks. With a review of 2025, the fire department responded to 435 calls for service, which is a 5% increase over last year. Department personnel logged 9,159 hours worked, of which 3,941 hours were of incident response, and the rest compiling of training, administration, maintenance, and public education. And last week we received our EMS transport license in the state of Maine, flying colors. Code enforcement had 4 building permits, 4 plumbing permits, 5 certificates of occupancy, 25 inspections, 0 violations of Lincoln M property. And planning and economic development, business check-in. is January 26th at 9 AM at the community center. There's an active transportation meeting and steering committee meeting will be held virtually on January 15th at 2 PM. Virtual downtown intersection meeting will be held on February 17th meeting. Access info from Maine DOT is coming. Transfer station reports they're seeing an increase in new first-time users. The word has gotten out that the changes and the things are positive. Traffic's easier to flow, and with the improved combined recycling drop-off area, it's easier to use, so we're starting to see more people use the transfer station.
At the library, in the last 2 weeks, there have been 967 visitors. This year's Story Ball, which is one of the library's signature events, will be held on Saturday, February 1st, from 4 to 6. Recreation Department, the AARP Tax Services is now taking appointments, which will start on Friday, February 6th. Powder House sold 481 tickets in the 6 days they were open in December, so kudos to them. They don't usually get to open this early, so that's great. Seniors on Wednesday, January 14th at 11, the seniors will be visited by Blue Ocean Society for their presentation on whale research. Assessing, the final audit documents have been sent to the state for the annual assessing audit this past Monday. Information on personal property has been added to the assessing page of the website. Questions and guidance to the businesses who are fulfilling their declarations, and it can answer any questions. If there are any questions about this, there's 2 state personal property tax relief programs, and the assessing office can help with any questions with those. In the clerk's office, in the last 2 weeks, there have been 234 motor vehicle transactions, 10 vital record transactions, and 9 notarial acts. In my area, there were 3 foreclosures, but luckily we had 2 that were paid in full during 30-day redemption period. We only have 1 that remains unpaid. They had until January 16th to pay. It's only a very small lot, a 0.10 acre lot with a small shed on it. And we are starting this week with the second round of budget discussions with all the department heads. I worked on the insurance claim for the public works incident, and we are working on the workman's compensation audit, which is due February 18th.
Under my office administration, we started police union negotiation contract. Worked on department head personnel evaluations for 2025. As Jen said, been working on the budget. I attended the SOAR department meeting, town hall renovation meeting, had several 1829 planning meetings with Carlo. Attended communications meeting with the communications person. Department head meeting on budget expectations, had a follow-up EMS meeting with the fire chief and the deputy chief EMS. An agenda meeting update with Monique and Jen. Had several economic community development planning meetings with Carlo. Had the department head meeting and a safety committee meeting. That's our report for today. Any questions?
Thank you. Anybody have questions for Tim or Jen?
The traffic, the downtown meeting with DOT. Was that a public meeting or what was the date on that? I didn't catch that. Or was that a public meeting, virtual? Well, it was virtual.
It's a virtual public meeting. DOT is only required to have 1 public meeting, and that's in person, by their regulations and state regulations. However, because this is a substantial project, they have agreed to have a virtual meeting. They finally given us a date on that, February 17th. It's the same public meeting that they said they would have last July. So we're finally having that. And now they're going to be giving us access information in the next coming days, so we can actually give that out to the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to clarify, is that one of those virtual ones where they put the content up, or is it hosted at one point, or is it one of the ones where they put the content online and anyone can log in, look at the content, and provide comments?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
It's fully hosted by DOT. They have told me that they will have a comment period attached to this. I've asked for additional information for contact emails, contact names, phone numbers, whatever I can get in ways that the public can make comments to that. And the response is they're gathering that materials and they would be provided to me when they're available. So only thing I have right now is the February 17th date. And I want to get that access information out as soon as I can.
There a time for us to Carla?
They do not have a time for that yet.
So it's going to be a single meeting though, or that's what we don't know yet.
Yeah, they have told me it's gonna be a single meeting because it's their virtual meeting. And then their actual legal mandated meeting will come some else time during the summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if there's going to be that? Cause I've seen on Instagram, Maine Dot will put out these,
Mhm.
a post that's like, virtual. I don't know what I forget what they call it, it's like
Yeah.
virtual meeting or something for public comment, and like the information stays up there for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
And you can log in.
I'm assuming it will be there, though, one of those, but just because I don't have confirmation that it will be, I don't want to give out the wrong impression. But
All right, we will move on from there to council member comments. Paul, you're up.
I don't have much, I did wanna say that Mallory and I, will be, hosting, the brainstorm we had on, sort of a, I don't know what we're gonna call it, a coffee with the council, I don't know, we need some sort of catchy phrase for this,
Coffee with counselors.
okay. And we're looking at February 1st, we gotta figure out a place, I guess. But again, it's just sort of mimicking what the town of Kennebunk has done over the last couple of years. Where we have an informal meeting, probably be, which would be a Saturday, probably be 9 in the morning, we'll find a place, we'll bring coffee and donuts. Whatever we can, maybe we'll go to the new cafe in town and ask them to, I don't mind paying for that. And we'll kick that off and hopefully we'll do more of those over the next few, half a year or a year, so. But, and Tim, I would like to ask Suzanne if she could help sort of promote that and.
Yeah, you get us something,
Yeah,
you know, we'll send it, kick it to her and she can get it off, we'll get it out there.
so this is sort of a dry run on the whole idea, I guess.
Perfect. So I think we just need to pick a location and time and location and just share it with you guys.
That's it.
That's it. Mallory,
I don't have anything tonight. Thank you.
excellent. Sam?
I guess I am also interested in some sort of update on the Bennett Road situation. I know it had been brought up in the manager's report, I think it was about a month ago. And we had the training with the town attorney on, you know, maybe we talked at that meeting, we talked about how maybe the council could get more frequent updates on stuff. It just seems sort of timely to maybe get an update. So I think that would be, in my opinion, in order in the near future. Considering I actually have no real idea as to what's going on out there. I think the beginning of the issue predates my position on council, so it'd be nice to know a little more.
Beginning of that issue predates the town manager.
I don't, you may not have been born by when that started.
I mean, this particular one was building permits.
Yeah, right. It's been going on for 30 years.
Another one is just related to sort of reviewing the accounts payable warrant and stuff. I know on some of them, the credit cards come due, and I think it would be advantageous to see those statements so that we're not just seeing a lump sum of credit card payment, because it's not an actual transaction per se to a vendor, it's just a payment to a credit card, so it's sort of difficult to review what much of the rest of the check runs, who the vendor is, what the amount is for, and then you provide that description of what it's for. So I'd like to see credit card statements, I guess, if they could be attached to the AP warrants, that would be helpful and I think complete in nature. That's all I particularly have for today, just keeping busy in the weeks between council meetings with staying up to date on the renovation project and working on that putting my idea together for that food truck permit and a bunch of other stuff, so. Thank you.
Alright, I'm gonna follow Mallory's lead. I have nothing this evening, so we will move on from council member comments to approval of town council minutes from December 23rd.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the town council meeting minutes from December 23rd, 2025 as written.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. 25. Moving on to town council workshop from January 6th, 2026.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt our meeting minutes from our town council workshop held on January 6th, 2026 as written.
Second. Motion in a second, any conversation? Hearing none, Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
Vote aye also, that motion passes 4-0. Moving on to the treasurer's warrants. I make a motion that we sign the treasurer's warrant dated 1/8/2026 in the amount of $1,251,462.67.
Second.
A motion and a second, any discussion?
This one does include our monthly payment to the school district in the amount of $848,663.33.
Thank you, ladies. Okay, Sam, you have?
Just looking for a little more information on the transfer station door kit from July, and what that was. Of $2,955.22.
That was, they built a little 3 walls for the recycling area. So what we bought from Uline is those big plastic strips that you can walk through, but will keep the heat or the cold in.
They're like flop.
Yeah,
So that was a part of the overall project.
correct.
All right, any other questions? Hearing none, we will move to vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also, motion passes 5-0. We will move on to reports and presentations for impact fees. Official Bishop and DeCarlo Brown.
So I'm gonna cue Michael up, but as we have new counselors here, I need to back up a little bit so you guys understand why we're actually here today. When I got here, one of the things that leadership, one of their highest priorities is looking at some type of impact fees. At the same time, when I get in, what I do is I go through all of our land use ordinances to make sure that when I'm reviewing something that's actually compliant. And within the subdivision ordinance, there's a requirement to ask for impact fees. You need impact fees in order to go through the subdivision process. In order to ask for impact fees, you need some type of nexus, legal nexus about what impact fees you're asking for. Because there wasn't actually any type of equation to ask people for a certain type of fee. And working with leadership, we discuss basically purchasing an impact fee study. And Michael is here to present the information that's coming from that impact fee study. What's important to know before he starts is that the impact fee study is not only just about how much you are charging people, it also is about what it costs for a new unit to actually come online in our community. So with that, I'll introduce Michael from Carson Bites, who's been amazing so far. And he can answer a bunch of your questions after this presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, DeCarlo, for the introduction. My name is Michael Paluli. I'm an economic and fiscal consultant, analyst with Tischler Weiss. So today we'll be presenting, what the draft impact fees look like right now as part of the study that we've been ongoing. So just a quick introduction of who Tischler Weiss is. We are a economic and fiscal consulting company specializing in urban planning specifically. And so some of the studies that we offer are impact fee and infrastructure financing strategies, fiscal and economic impact analyses, capital improvement planning, infrastructure finance and revenue enhancement, and real estate market feasibility studies. So, just to start off, what are impact fees? So impact fees are one-time payments for growth-related infrastructure, usually collected when building permits are issued. So what can impact fees be used for? They can only be used for growth-related capital expenditures. So that means they cannot be used for operations, maintenance, or the replacement of anything. Now, replacement, we can talk about it a little bit later, but let's say you were to, just a caveat with replacement is, let's say you were to replace your fire station. And currently, it's 10,000 square feet. If you're gonna replace it with a 20,000 square foot fire station, you could use impact fees for those 10,000 square feet of new space, but you couldn't spend impact fees on the entire 20,000 square feet of that fire station. So an important thing to remember and contextualize impact fees with is that they are not a tax, but more like a contractual agreement to build infrastructure. So they have 3 requirements. You have to have a need, system improvements, not just project level. This is talking about the entire town. A benefit, everybody who pays an impact fee needs to receive a benefit from that impact fee. Short range expenditures and geographic service area and benefit districts is some ways that you can handle that, since you guys are not, benefit districts, service areas are something really to consider when we're talking about counties or large regions. You guys are contained enough that that's not really something that we explored or really developed for this, and they need to be proportionate to demand. So you have a few different fee methodologies. You have the cost recovery approach, which is paying for improvements that have already occurred. Buying into future development is now buying into an oversized improvement. This is something that we see a lot on the water wastewater side of things, since you have to build a new treatment plant, and it's really easy to conceptualize and calculate. Well, if you have 5 million gallons of wastewater or water treatment capacity, and you're at 2 million right now, we can calculate the cost per gallon. And so every new home that comes in, they're buying a share of the remaining gallons, almost like a mutual fund. Next, you have the incremental expansion approach, which is what we used for this. Every fee category currently is calculated using the incremental expansion approach, which is a formula-based approach that is on your existing level of service. It is what is being offered right now in the town. And it's also based on current costs to replicate those services. So it's current costs and current levels of service. And we think the incremental expansion methodology can be best because it helps it scales with demand as you grow. So if, when we get to talk about it now with the plan-based approach, it's specific projects. So if you are going to build a new fire station for $5 million, that is what the impact fee is based on. But that is, since this is a contract, you're now contractually obligated to build that $5 million fire station. You've collected impact fees, you've collected people's money to pay for this. So if, housing growth slows, you only collect $1 million, you're on the hook for $4 million. With the incremental expansion approach, if growth slows and you've only collected $1 million, well, there's only the demand for $1 million in new fire station space. So that's why we think it is best, especially for, your community right now with how things are. There's not any really major planned, capacity adding projects right now. So this is the best way to keep things flexible. And so then also something that we have to do is we have to evaluate the need for credits. There are 3 different types of credits. They're site specific. So if a developer were to come in and build a new fire station, they'd be credited for that. There is debt service. So if you're going to debt finance something, there will be some portion of future revenues paying for that. And so we have to calculate, sort of the current value of something that is debt financed. And then there are dedicated revenues that we have to incorporate. If they're property taxes, they'll show up some sales taxes or gas taxes, because that is, again, you get into a sort of double payment situation where if you are paying gas tax that goes towards expanding roads, but then you're paying an impact fee that's expanding roads, you're now paid for that same improvement twice. So you need to get a credit for that. So just some common misconceptions with impact fees. That development fees are going to cover the entire cost of new facilities, negating the need for higher taxes. It's untrue. Again, it's only going to be the capital portion of this. So staffing a new facility, then the ongoing maintenance for that new facility are not something impact fees are going to be paying for. Development fees should be based on planning standards without concern for deficiencies. You know, you have to think of impact fees holistically in, you know, the current state of the community. Non-resident fees can be adjusted for economic reasons. That is not true. You know, if you are going to credit, so let's say, you know, you want to reduce impact fees for a specific category, you have to reduce residential and non-residential at the same time. You can't discriminate against a land use. All developers and builders hate development fees. That's untrue. A lot of developers are, you know, understand that this is helps communities and helps them, you know, pay for growth. Development fees will increase the cost of housing. You know, what we've shown, throughout our work across the country is that there really is no significant increase in the cost of housing related to impact fees. That isn't often, you know, something that gets brought up a lot, and it's just really not true, especially when you think about even high, you know, even if it was a very expensive impact fee. You know, by the time you get that built out over your 30-year mortgage, you're only talking about a few dollars a month. And then, you know, development fees will negatively affect low and moderate income housing. That's also not really true. You know, there can be carve outs for low and moderate income housing. And then also with development fees, you know, since you have to, the demand needs to be proportionate to, you know, the impact fees need to be charged proportionate to the demand that the housing unit is generating. You know, single family housing units, which are usually not low, moderate, you know, low, moderate income housing, they're going to pay higher impact fees than a multifamily on a per unit basis. And then development fees will cause new development to migrate to adjacent communities. You know, real estate demand is what it is, and you know, an impact fee usually is not going to affect that. Yeah, so credit for affordable housing can mitigate the impact. You know, just building on the low and moderate income housing. If you are, you know, so the way that this has to work is that, let's say there's a affordable housing project and you want to exempt them from impact fees, you would just need to essentially pay the impact fee for them, and, you know, go into your impact fee fund to make sure that the fund is still whole, that there is not a chunk missing from this affordable housing, you know, development. Because again, since this is a kind of an agreement with all new development, you know, you need to make sure nobody's being shortchanged, basically. Now, it's really just your money, you know, moving around, but it is an important part of this process. Fees are not always passed on in the price of the home, so they just show that fees are often absorbed by others in the food chain, depending on market conditions. You know, landowners, developers, home builders, and homeowners, there's plenty of different avenues for the cost of an impact fee to be absorbed, especially as housing costs keep rising. And then impact fee studies, you know, can include housing affordability analyses. You know, we don't have one currently, but if that's something that is about to be necessary, we can include that. So these are development projections used in this impact fee study. You know, since we use the incremental expansion methodology and it's based on what is happening currently, you know, it's based on your current levels of service. These aren't going to affect the actual, you know, fee amounts. Instead, we use these development projections to sort of show, you know, what demand over the next 10 years might look like, and then what the revenue might look like from that. So currently, we have population in South Berwick estimated at 7,761 residents, in 3,104 total housing units. There are 1,751 people employed in South Berwick, that is actually jobs located in South Berwick. And there's 564,000 square feet of residential space. Then over the next 10 years, population expected to increase by 1,776 residents, in 750 new housing units. And there's also expected to be growth in 401 jobs located in South Berwick, and 149,000 square feet of non-residential space. And this is all based on conversations with the Carlisle Planning Department, along with for some of the non-residential stuff. We use CoStar data analytics. They're non-resident. They're a commercial real estate company. They will have, you know, they have information on, they project build out and non-residential growth as well. So we use those. And so these are just the proposed impact fees based on, you know, currently It's a $7,990 total fee for a single family unit, $5,438 for a multifamily unit. For industrial, it's $2,699 per 1,000 square feet of non-residential development. $6,412 for commercial development. Per 1,000 square feet, $5,715 for 1,000 square feet for office of services, and then $6,060 for institutional development. So starting with the fire impact fees, this is just a quick overview. It's a citywide service area. There are 5 different components of the fee: fire facilities, fire apparatus, EMS vehicles, fire equipment, and then the fire debt credit. And then so there's a 10-year demand of 1,263 square feet of fire facilities at a cost of $884,000, approximately $884,000. 1.8 units of fire apparatus at approximately cost of $1.4 million. Half a unit of EMS vehicles for $366,000, then 24.2 units of fire equipment at a cost of $166,000. Just,
Can I ask you?
yes,
Just those numbers that you read out, when you say 10-year demand, is that's like incremental above and beyond what we currently
Yes.
have? Okay.
yeah, so what they're saying is over the next 10 years, based on your current level of service, the actual square feet of fire facility per person, over the next 10 years, based on the growth projections shown earlier, that, translates to, that level of service translates to 1,200 new square feet. And based on, the current costs, that would be $884,000. And I'll go pretty in depth on fire, and then, it gets, a lot of the methodology are the same, so I'll, make sure this one is really in depth, and then we might go a little bit faster than some of the later ones. So first is proportionate share. This is how we split the demand for fire facilities between residential and non-residential. This is using, we use a calculation of demand hours per day. This is based on US Census data, and they're on the MAP application. So basically what is breaks down into people who are employed, and people who are unemployed, and you assign different hours to them based on how much, an estimate of how much time you spend in the town on a single day. And so based on that split, it's 82% demand we estimate is generated by residential development, and 18% is generated by non-residential development. So for fire facilities, South Warwick currently provides 0.5832 square feet per person to residential development in 2025, and 0.5674 square feet per job to non-residential development in 2025. And so then, that results in a cost per person of $408.27 and a cost per job of $397.21. That's based on, you take that level of service and multiply by the cost per square foot that's shown above. That cost per square foot is from, it is the National Firefighting Association, I believe. It's their current cost estimates to construct fire stations. Sorry. And then to maintain the current level of service, Southburg, we need to construct 1,263 square feet of fire facilities, and show in the bottom that is results in a cost of $884,086. And so then for fire apparatus, it's a very similar calculation where we take units, your existing units, divide that by your existing first you multiply that by residential share to split those units between residential and non-residential development. For residential development, you take those units and they are divided by 7,000 by the current base year population, which is 7,761 residents. That results in 0.0008 units per person, and they multiply that by the average cost per unit of $770,000. You get the cost of $650.87 per person. So, showing here, it's the level of service breakdown for fire apparatus. And for EMS vehicles, we do want to touch on EMS vehicles because, with conversations, as through this process, the town is switching from, is now operating their own EMS, going to be operating their own EMS services. So what we decided to do was, since it's happening so soon, is calculate the impact fees based on, the anticipated level of service. It's going to be two ambulances serving the town. And so that's how we calculate our level of service. And so this half of an EMS vehicle over the next 10 years is going to be in addition to the 2 EMS vehicles that the town is going to acquire to start EMS service. And then for fire equipment, same as the previous ones, and, it's planned for 24.2 units of fire equipment at a cost of $166,000, $166,100. And so we have to do a fire debt credit because there is some existing debt for the fire department. So this is showing how we do that is we split current annual principal payments. We don't account for interest. We split those between residential and non-residential using that same proportionate share shown earlier. And we divide those by the population that the population projected for each year. We get a principal per person, and then we calculate the net present value of all those principals per person. That results in a debt credit of $47.65 per person and $46.36 per job. And so that's how we get these proposed fire fees. Again, just to point out for multifamily development, multifamily impact fees, sometimes there can be some confusion. This is not per multifamily project, this is per unit. So if you have a 10-unit apartment building that's being built, it pays the multifamily fee times 10.
Multifamily starts at.
Yes, and a multifamily unit is it's going to be defined in the report, but it's 2 or more units occupying the same structure. So the draft fire fees currently are $3,191 for a single family unit, $2,172 for a multifamily unit, $1,940 for industrial development, that's per 1,000 square feet, $2,622 for commercial, $4,032 for office, and $3,747 for institutional. For parks and recreation, the components are parks, land, park amenities, and recreational facilities. The 10-year demand is going to be 14.5 acres for parkland at a cost of $362,000. Park amenities is 1.4 units of park amenities at a cost of $102,000. And recreational facilities 2,485 square feet at a cost of $601,000.
Mike, sorry, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I think, and I don't want to speak for the council, but I think you kind of demonstrated us like kind of how the methodology comes together. And so I may be suggesting, instead of kind of going through each individual section, if we can maybe jump ahead to kind of where all of those things come together, if we could.
Yeah, that sounds good. Just one quick thing to point out with parkland is part of the park recreation fees is that they're only assessed on residential development. We don't, there's no assumed demand generated from non-residential development. They're only for residential. So
I'm gonna stop.
yeah.
I would think like
Yeah.
76.
Yeah. Irish relations, other languages. Alright, here, so again, so we do that methodology for all those, and it comes back together to these impact fees shown before. $700, roughly $1,000 for single family home, et cetera, et cetera. For the next steps, so obviously you guys can look a little bit deeper into all these presentations, understand each methodology. So the big question is what components are actually going to be in the impact? DeCarlo really wanted to leave that up to you guys to see what you think is going to be, the best course forward. Because something that we do want to stress is that, what are you actually going to be building in the next 5 to 10 years? What is, you have to have really pretty solid plans for these because otherwise you have to refund the impact fee if you don't spend it, in a reasonable time frame. I don't believe there is a specific outline time frame in the statute currently. But with some of the recent changes to impact fee enabling legislation in Maine for impact fees need to be encumbered. It's the phrase that's used very quickly after receipt. And so what we've interpreted that to mean is that you have to have very specific CIP projects. You have to have specifically identified CIP projects that this money is going to be going towards. So, for example, with libraries, is there going to be more library facilities built in the next 5 to 10 years? If the answer is no, then you shouldn't have a library facilities component of your impact fee. Now, something that we like to stress too is that doesn't mean you can never have a library impact fee. Impact fees are meant to be reassessed every 5 years or so. And so in 5 years, if the answer is, you know what, actually, we are gonna build that new library, it's time, we're gonna start, this is gonna happen in the next 5 to 10 years now, then we could add in a library component, when the fee gets, reassessed. And so, yeah.
Sorry, can I ask, a question too on that, is there, like, so when I see that question there, what will the town be constructing for the next 5 to 10 years? There's nothing glaring that jumps to mind for me, that would be like new things, so my question is, we have a lot of work going on currently with this building, is there a way to retroactively do anything with it?
We did talk about it. The problem with this building is a lot of renovations. And that's not something that impact fees can be used for. It can really be used for renovation. I mean, if you're building a new wing onto this, then, that could be in theory something that would be impact fee eligible, but, just straight renovations. There's another thing that we talked about with the transfer station, where the transfer station, there was some work done there with that count, but I didn't think that, we didn't think that would qualify as something that would be, impact fee eligible. And just another thing, we thought about street fees, potential street impact fees. It's a very common impact fee.
Yeah.
But, again, since that's be capacity adding, after talks with Public Works and DeCarlo, you guys aren't really in the road building business. There's not a lot of new land miles being built by the town, currently. So, so we decided.
That brings me to a question about building there's a base year and then there's a projection of growth. What informs that rate of growth?
That was from, conversation with DeCarlo, primarily really on the residential side, talking about, we looked at past, building permits issued over the last 5 years. We had some conversation with him about, I know that there had been some, changes on the state side of, land use changes, so we incorporated that, but that was a lot of conversation with the town, and then we convert those housing units into population using, ACS person per housing unit data, which will be in the full report. I can get that to you guys at the time.
My next question is related to, bring up the town hall, and the town hall is about, 20,000 square feet. And I think back when there was a needs assessment done, it was determined that the current need was more closely to 10,000 square feet. So when you take these existing square footage, numbers for facilities such as police, which we not too long ago built, do you consider the existing utilization of the space, or do you look at the overall square footage of the building when you're projecting the future need? Because we don't need to be building more vacant space.
Yeah, so we are using overall square footage currently, and based on conversations with police and fire, and every department in this, every department that's included, they all indicated that, well, that they think that they would need more new space as the town continues to grow, especially over the next 10 years.
So each of those facilities, you don't have a current space utilization rate or any.
No, not currently.
Much as we didn't really know how much space we needed in the town hall until the space planning was done, and it's like, oh, less than what we have. So we don't have information on that to determine the base year utilization of those facilities.
Yeah, at least not that I was providing.
Potentially reduce what the appropriate impact would be.
Yeah. Yeah, if something like that existed, it's definitely
For
something
sure.
to take into
Yeah,
account.
I doubted that, but.
Yeah.
A couple things, I guess, or a few. I appreciate the population stuff. I mean, it seems really high, those projections on population growth and housing growth. I know we have these new laws, which will, I went back to the comp plan and some other stuff, and you guys, you're projecting a population, like a 10-year population increase of like 22%, and housing increase of 24%. I mean, those are like 5 to 10 times higher than we've had in previous decades. So I don't know how that's going to play into all these calculations, but if you want to go back and take a look at that, they seem high. I think it's important for people in town to realize too, because we didn't get into this, that we can't do this for sewer, water, and schools. I mean, maybe that was presumed by everybody, and we know that, but we can't. The town cannot impose an impact fee on quasi-public. Or if we ran this, if the school district was a South Berwick, school district, then yes, we could. But we can't. So we're sort of limited to a number of the things you guys have put together here. I guess, you know, I have seen some of those road impact fees. I know the town of York had some, or I think. Carly, you probably knew that. You know, I have seen as the city of Sanford has road impact fees. I'm not sure what, you know, what discussions there were, and we don't need to get into it. I do think it's a big cost center for the town. And I guess DPW, just like, did we address like equipment needs, future growth of DPW, the facilities? Did that come up?
That did come up, you know, based on my conversation with DPW and looking at the CIP currently, as I didn't see a lot of stuff, you know, again, with the transfer station, being a DPW thing, you know, talk about that really wasn't, you know, the work there was more, you know, correcting existing problems, which is not something that can be, you know, is impact fee eligible, as, you know, again, it always has to be growth related. And so from DPW, I didn't get any information on that, but you know, again, if you think that, you know, if that is something that is expected in the next, you know, 5 to 10 years, adding DPW vehicles, that could be something that's included.
Right. Well, I mean, I think this has all been beneficial piece that's gonna kickstart us into thinking about what we need to build over the next 5 or 10 years. So thank you for that. I think, and DeCarlo, maybe you know this, but on the impact fees for if we do affordable housing development, does the new state law exempt impact fees from affordable housing development projects?
No.
It doesn't, okay.
No, but we discussed that, and we knew this question was gonna come up, so Michael, would you?
Yeah, so with affordable housing projects, is you are within your right to exempt them from paying an impact fee. However, the impact fee fund still needs to be made whole from that exemption. So more or less the town pays the impact fee for the affordable housing project. Yes.
So it essentially, it would encumber those funds to
Yeah,
some sort of
yes.
account, yeah.
Yeah, you know, you take general fund revenue and it is turning into impact fee fund revenue.
I guess my final thought was just on the conservation and recreation, or the parks and recreation. I don't know, for trails and, you know, it seems like it's the calculations you did were sort of like more centered on, you know, built facilities, you know, recreation fields and things. I didn't, and I know some of our neighboring towns, which includes Berwick and North Berwick, they have conservation impact fees for the purchase of conservation land, passive recreation, probably trails. And I didn't know if that was part of any of the calculations or not.
Yeah,
I think there's pretty high demand here in this town for that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't believe there is. We did focus more, yeah, it is much more of a focus on active parkland as what we like to, you know, kind of refer to it as. But you know, if there is going to be a push, you know, again, if there is going to be a push for the next 5 to 10 years to increase that, that's definitely something we can consider. And we do, you know, we do incorporate that, you know, those into impact fees as well, you know, especially out in Colorado.
Particularly bike trail, you know, we're very actively engaged with creating more bike trails and connectivity and.
Yeah, it is definitely, real specific.
I will second that sort of notion that Parks and Rec and facilities that would get residents out and also attract other people being active could definitely use some money there.
I will say, a lot of this is based on what are your current plans, and so, you know, has the council put it into their CIP that we are gonna purchase X, Y, and Z over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, again, I think it's, at least it's kickstarting a conversation over.
Yeah, the enabling legislation is pretty open-ended on what can be included in an impact fee. You know, the specific languages, you know, they list a few, it's such as, so, you know, seems to be some leeway with, you know, what some of these specific components could be. But again, the real limiting factor is, you know, what are you actually going to expand in the next 10 years? You know, what is actually going to be built in the next 5 to 10 years, and what would you spend this impact fee money on? Because you have to spend it. You know, it's a big thing that we incorporate when we encounter some of these communities, is that, you know, it's not just a pot of money you have to sit on. You know, it is money you have to be spending. So that's just something to think.
So, in terms of, again, where the data came from, you said a lot of it's coming from interviews and stuff. Is that where the like the apparatus and vehicle costs come from too? So like a $800,000 ambulance?
Yeah, that was based on
That's
conversations.
cost of an ambulance?
Yeah, I believe that's what's in the current CIP.
No, it's about 450,000 for one.
So why do we double it in this report?
That would be for two.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's 1.6 for two.
maybe that,
Just
you know,
have
that,
to look at.
I mean, it could be, you know, that could be error on my part reading the CIP, if the CIP just had ambulances listed and I took the whole, but yeah, if it's $450,000, that would be something that's adjusted.
Yeah.
But
So,
You know,
one final, question for me, and then I'll shut up. So these fees, and maybe this comes later down the line, they're collected when somebody applies for a building permit or when the home is occupied, or when would the fee actually?
that is something that's when you guys write the ordinance, that's gonna be what it looks like, and that's more of a policy decision on when the actual fee gets assessed. You know, oftentimes it is when you apply for your building permit, it's part of those building, you know, while you're paying your other building permit fees, you'd also pay the impact fee. But, you know, again, that's more, you know, that's gonna be something addressed when you write the ordinance, when it's actually collected.
And you're suggesting it be per unit, not by, I mean, some towns do it by bedroom,
Yeah,
I fully agree with you.
yeah, we think unit, you know, can be best. We do by size. That's something that we do as well. We don't like bedrooms because I think oftentimes you get into a lot of weird stuff. You know, is it a den? Is it a bedroom? Is it a, you know, an office? What is this space? So we like to stick it to either size, because that's a lot more, you know, it's a lot more concrete. You can, you know, the size of your residential unit is the size of your residential unit. Or, you know, just stick it to the unit type, single, multifamily. You know, unit types can be a little bit easier sometimes as well, just, you know, for on the administrative side of things, but, you know.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you
for all the hard work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, moving on from that, we will go to unfinished business number one, which is taking action on the Park Management Plan Committee applicant, Steve Woods.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Christy Woods to the Comprehensive Plan Committee with a term ending June 2027.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any conversation?
I picked that timeframe because the comp plan, our comp plan charge is like 1 year appointments, so I figured I'd roll it over to a year and some change.
Excellent. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. Moving down to unfinished business number two. Taking action on the advisory board applicant, Dolores Leonard.
Just looking at what her,
I would move that
term.
we, move Dolores Leonard to the Library Advisory Board for a term of
2028. June 2028.
until June 2028.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any conversation?
we have one vacancy with a term ending 2028. That's
All right, hearing none. We'll go to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Valerie?
aye.
Vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. Moving down to the owner's representative proposal update. And we're moving over to you for that, Tim?
Yep. As you've seen in your information sheet, we called I think it was 5 or 6 of the owner agents who had originally submitted proposal. We asked them to dust them off and give us an updated price, which they did. These are the 3 that responded. You can see my communication. So now it's up to the council to decide what next actions. The only thing they had a lot of questions on where we're in the project, how far along we are. Kind of like what our expectations would be of hours, things we couldn't really answer. So I don't know, you know, council's wishes, but I would recommend that either you move to have interviews soon. Either you move to have interviews soon, we schedule interviews. There's only 3, so I imagine we could do them in one night. But it's your wishes what you wanna do.
I'll just add the town hall renovation committee meeting met earlier, Sam, myself, Jen and Tim. On this, and we discussed a number of things, but also discussed this topic. I think, and I, let me know if you disagree, but I think it's our opinion that we should move quickly on this with getting these interviews scheduled. We also discussed we're expecting like 5 to 6 hours or so a week for time commitment for this owner's rep. So that's kind of what we're working with. I would very much like to suggest that we try to get these interviews scheduled next week. Seems like an off week. We don't have a regular council meeting. I know some of us are out of town in February. And so that is my suggestion, I think, speaking on behalf of the rest of the committee to try to get those. moved.
Yeah, I agree with, moving forward. I also want to put it out there here now in public, and as the RFP is online as well, if there is anyone else in South Berwick or locally that is interested in, submitting a proposal for this, we discussed that we would be willing to consider it, specifically if it were someone more local or from around that has experience with this type of work and is interested. That'd be awesome, but we obviously need to keep moving forward at the same time.
So do we, I saw the hourly rates, and Mallory, you were just saying, what, 5 to 6 hour, I mean, what do we, I mean, there is no lump sum contract, there's no lump sum in proposals, so, I mean, where do we, do we have a ballpark on? I'm not totally a believer in always going with the low bid, but, I guess I just don't know what we're thinking as far as the final cost, and we know that's pretty hard to predict at this
I
point.
think from the standpoint of what we, the owner's rep or the current owner committee, discussed, we would have to bring forward our recommendation, or are we all going to be in the plans have the whole council in the interviews, correct?
Council does
Yeah.
introduce.
Yeah, I think that's a
So, and then I
Yeah.
think from that, and I'm talking my personal opinion, we didn't talk about this, but would be put together some sort of evaluation matrix
Mhm,
of
mhm.
the candidates.
Yeah.
And that would include what based on their rate and the expected time expenditure, what the overall contract would be for.
Okay.
So given that, I'm looking at next week, I was gonna suggest maybe next Tuesday or Wednesday, the 20th or the 21st. Looking at the rest of the calendars that work for everybody.
Tuesday's great.
Okay, let's plan on, can we try to arrange interviews with each of them ideally on Tuesday the 20th? In the evening time frame,
So,
as early as, what's the earliest you guys can start to meet? Could you guys meet as early as 5? Okay, as early as 5 o'clock, yes,
Okay, great.
5 to 6 to 7.
yeah, if we can make that work. I'll just go ahead and make a motion just
Yeah,
to not block it in. I'm gonna make a motion, that the council authorize the town manager to set up interviews with Dovetail Consulting, Cobalt Construction Managers, and Heinfelder Construction Services for interviews for the owner's representative position to be held on Tuesday, January 20th, starting as early as 5 p.m.
Second. Motion in a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Sam, Paul,
Aye.
Mallory.
Aye.
Vote aye also. That motion passes 4-0. Moving on down to food truck cart application. Sam, you're up.
I sent over, so it was last regular meeting, I guess it was. I had mentioned that I wanted to sort of take the opportunity with this application to write or draft some sort of cover letter that sort of promotes South Berwick as a more of a business friendly town, in that we adopted this new ordinance related to food trucks and carts, and we support those small non brick and mortar enterprises and welcome them to South Berwick. And part of the ordinance requires town council to authorize them to operate in town. So, there was an application associated with that. I sent it over, obviously, it was today, so, I guess my thought was that we would sort of kick this back to the staff and DeCarlo to take a look at, and then if they have any questions or come back at us with some sort of final for us to approve, or obviously what I sent over was a draft, and sort of I drafted it in a manner to communicate what I envisioned versus an actual final document, so to speak. So anyway, that was my thought on how that worked. We would send it back, and if DeCarlo or others had comments or concerns or changes, they would make those and then send it back to us for the quote approval.
You okay with it?
Yep.
So,
I guess I'll make a motion to return to the town, well, I guess it would be to, deny approval of the,
just make a motion to move this to the next meeting and send it to Carlo, and we'll vote on it the next meeting.
Send it to staff for updates.
okay, move this item to the next regular meeting and send my comments to the town staff for review.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any conversation?
You know, Sam, you would put together some, yeah, I mean, you know, welcome to South Berwick stuff. Is that part of the, I mean, is that part of the application, or are we just, which I'm fine with, I think it was great, thank you for doing that, and.
Yeah, I did email DeCarlo earlier, and he expressed concern about that being a part of sort of the approval process here, so I guess. No, it would just be the application, and then, you know, the cover letter would be.
Okay.
Something that if it needs to be updated, revised, or whatnot, or those checklists, that wouldn't, obviously, that wouldn't have to.
Yeah.
Come back to us for approval, so to speak.
Okay.
Any other conversation? Hearing none. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Mallory?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0 to send it back to staff and take care of it next meeting. Next up is the comprehensive plan committee appointment.
So I think that this is listed weird on that we're not talking about comp plan right now, right?
No, this is something completely different, so I need to have DeCarlo come up and talk to you about comprehensive plan going forward, the future 1829, how it ties in, what we need you to do next,
Yeah,
or ask you to do next.
certainly, I'm happy to bring it up myself. So, as requested, I put together a projected schedule of how you can do things before July. You have to go backwards. Keeping
In reference to 1829.
in reference to 18, the requirements in 1829, as we know, it drastically increases density, inside your growth areas and other areas.
You're welcome.
Other areas involved. And so, when I brought that to the council previously, you all were of the opinion we need to shrink our growth area. In order to shrink your growth area, you need to make an amendment to your comprehensive plan. In order to make an amendment to your comprehensive plan, you have to appoint a planning committee. That's a state law. And so you have to appoint a board, yourself, the planning board, or a constructed board to act as a planning committee to actually do the changes. And then you need to go through the process of sending it to your municipal reviewing authority, which is your planning board here, and then to the council. And so technically, if you appoint it yourself, you would send it down to the planning board for review and changes and send it back to yourself before you can send it to the state. I included a draft schedule, and I cannot complete that schedule until I know who is the planning committee. Because it's going to be based on that body that I can then construct the actual dates of what needs to occur when. I did a draft one of you all appointing yourself. Because of the amount of changes that are needed are only on 4 pages, but the needs, in order to get it done in the time frame, we need a situation where you're not disagreeing with a board that's been appointed. And so if you're making the decisions, then we know that we have certainty on what you all will and will not accept. And so that's why my first recommendation is to appoint yourselves. But to have some input from planning board and from your advisory committee, but technically to appoint yourselves. So if you go 1 page up, this is the number of items that you need to complete. I baked in some timeframes of, hey, we need to change this, we need to change that, and also community meetings. These are not public hearings, but these are times that the community can come in and speak about the process and about what's going on, which we all, not only is it important to do, public participation is a requirement of changing your comprehensive plan. So that had to be baked in. And it gives us time to do some data gathering. Your current growth area, this is really important to know, your current growth area splits across lots, splits across zones, and splits across development patterns. So you will have certain neighborhoods who are of a certain single family homes right next to 32 unit per acre that's on the same exact street. And sometimes what happens is that you'll go down the street and you'll be outside of a growth area, and then you go inside a growth area, and then you'll come back in the same street that's outside of the growth area. So you'll have a portion in the middle of a street that's really built up, and then going back to a more rural scope. And so we need a little bit more consistency, and that's nothing to do with what we originally planned for our comp plan, because we had control over the rate of growth when we did our comp plan. Now that the state has come in with saying, well, this means something completely new, this is a part of us adjusting. And so we're going to adjust to our new realities and plan accordingly to make sure that our communities stay together. So, so this is the list of items this is really the list of meetings that need to occur in order to get you to the finish line by July when this is adopted. The reason why we're concentrating on the comp plan changes is that the impact is much less outside of the growth area. And so we tackled out that first, and then at the same exact time, the planning board is tackling the land use side and working in tandem. This is about the teamwork things that we spoke about and all hands on deck method.
And so to Carlos, evening, it sounds like what is needed from us tonight is to figure out the planning committee situation.
Correct.
So you can start filling in concrete dates and then we can have the timeline.
Correct.
It sounds like your recommendation is that we appoint ourselves essentially as the planning committee for, you had kind of mentioned for the purposes of like, so we're not kind of essentially disagreeing with that body. But I also think that that is a prudent decision because of the timeline.
Yes.
Because I think it would take us, I mean, if I think about the timeline it'll take for us to turn around posting, are we gonna get enough people to actually want to participate and to conduct interviews, et cetera? So, I agree with the recommendation that we should appoint we should appoint the town council as the planning committee for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah. And so as a backup, my first choice is the council, second is planning board. It's already an established committee. And then third is it is another option that you can pursue, maybe a mix of both. But if you choose an existing board, you guys already know when you're available to meet, you have some consistency to choose that.
I'm wondering, just timing wise, for us, between budgets, regular meetings, this is a pretty lengthy list of more meetings. I think I think we may be overextending ourselves. I guess and I understand what you're saying. I guess, actually a couple of questions. Where is the comprehensive planning committee at this point? I mean, we just appointed somebody tonight. So how many members do we have?
It's an advisory committee and you just made a quorum. 3.
So, right, so why are we not handing this over to them or then the planning board?
Timeframe.
But I think doesn't the board committee have to be a
That's why we
different,
appointed a comprehensive plan.
Yeah, so you can appoint that an ad hoc committee as your official planning committee. Ad hoc committees they're not legally binding. They're just giving recommendations to you. This planning committee is a state regulation that says you must have a planning committee. And so you can appoint a body as the planning committee, as much as you want. I will say, I did meet with, one of the members of the planning committee, earlier today, and, those people signed on for a commitment of 1 meeting per quarter. And this is not that. This is something else. I have recommended that, hey, they are really involved in this, but, I haven't asked them because we didn't have a quorum if they're able to even do this work, at the level that needs to be done.
So budget's gonna take 3 weeks realistically for us to complete. 4 weeks if we have a lot of questions, a lot of stuff, it'll be 3 weeks. If we kick this to somebody else, we're not gonna be done in time for July. Because if it stays with us, and I agree with DeCarlo and Mallory, if it stays with us, we know going forward, the decisions that we talk about in this committee, we know what's gonna happen when we come before us to decide on these in the meeting. And it's something we have all agreed, the growth area needs to change. We've all looked at it, and 1829 was handed to us. None of us wanted it. So I think the only way we can get it, honestly, is if we unfortunately give up a whole bunch more days of Tuesdays and Thursdays and do it ourselves.
And one of the big things about this is that it's only 4 pages, but these decisions are big. And my one concern is that, if you are not comfortable with a board that you give this to and you want a different decision, you have just set yourself back at least another month. So I'm sorry to put this heavy thing on you. But your other option is to give it to the planning board, and allow them to do their work and have it before you, or to be okay with another board to make these decisions. If you want to get done in this amount of time, but you are then giving that decision-making power to that other board.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
so between the budget meetings and everything else we have to get done, which is the statutory requirement as well as the town requirement. Understanding DeCarlo's need, we had a meeting on this day to discuss this. And because of the learning curve it would take for an outside board to do this, it either has to be, my recommendation is either it be the council or it be the planning board. It's only 4 pages, do it for that project, but I agree with DeCarlo, to keep the timeline consistent with the whole project. I would recommend either you or the planning board do this. I don't know if you can do it in 1 night or 2 nights or. How many realistically nights do you think they would need to accomplish this?
Quite a few, just because of the decisions that need to be made.
Then I would pass it to the planning board. Well, I gotta,
agree,
listen, you've gotta be available for budgets. You can't get to the voting day on budgets and have no idea what we did with budgets because nobody showed up.
Yeah.
So I need you for budgets. Budgets is a priority and I gotta just make that known to the council.
I think there's another, I'm sorry, Sam, go ahead.
Yeah,
I think there's another option, which is to have a council liaison with
Yes.
the planning board.
That's what I was gonna say.
I mean, I'm myself, I'm totally comfortable with the planning board do it. I mean, this is what they do. I mean, they're the planning board,
Yeah.
But I think having people from the council involved at the planning board level might negate, your concern about it's just gonna get dumped on our lap at the end and we're gonna be like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have talked to the planning board chair, so they are aware of both options. They were already, our timeline before all this 1829 craziness, we were thinking and discussing all these same topics, but not in this time frame. This was over years. And so they are aware of it and they already are willing to participate. I haven't posed this schedule to them because if you go down, it's their own schedule, what has to do with the land use discussions. But this is more of, we're all just gonna have to work together. I mean, these are decisions that have to be made.
I like that liaison idea. Would it be a rotating member or would it be one particular person or would it be someone coming to inform us? Maybe it's a planning board member that informs us versus us going to that.
I just wanna be cognizant of, regardless of where we land, of if we do appoint the planning board as the bodies do this work, I agree that this is like what they do, but I wanna be sensitive to time commitments, and if we're basically pitching this over the fence to the planning board to say, hey, we need you guys to be available for all of these dates, and we now need you to attend town council meetings regularly, I don't necessarily feel like if
Yeah,
there's a way
that's a
we can
lot.
somehow get the update
Yeah.
without asking them to attend our meetings, in addition to all the other things we're asking them to do.
Yeah.
Whether we get, that could be like via
Yeah,
through
so
Charlotte, through the manager or something.
yeah, we can definitely get updates that way. I don't have a problem. I'm
Yeah.
here each one of you.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mallory, I was thinking more like if we have a rotating council liaison or whatever,
Yeah.
and they go to the planning, they work, and then they come and report back. I don't see a need for the planning board members to come back to town.
Yeah.
Okay,
Council
I'm good with
meetings.
that.
and-
So, and my next question is who's available tomorrow? 'Cause we have-
I would discourage a rotating liaison
Yeah,
member.
that's good.
I would say one member to take on this project. Paul, you're best suited for this, I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
well,
I'm
that's.
trying to get myself out of it.
Well, you know, listen, we gotta get some of this stuff done, we've got a bunch of stuff in front of us. And the reality is, wouldn't make sense to put,
Yeah.
you know, somebody, if nobody's ever had planning experience, Paul, you've done it. My recommendation would be to make a motion to have the planning board do it with a liaison as Paul Shoemaker to the planning board.
So moved.
Second, we
Sorry.
have a motion and a second.
And I'll pray for an extension,
Do we have any discussion other than
Right.
Paul?
which we should, I'm sorry, the extension we should know about potentially by March, right, or maybe sooner, or.
I haven't heard about the extension piece.
I reached out to our state rep with our concerns and that was the biggest one I reached out to
Yeah.
her with, was we needed this. I don't think we're gonna get it, but I asked.
Yeah, there's an emergency bill that's in the works right now, but a time extension wasn't a part of that bill, but it's very, very, very early on. And so, and it's an emergency bill, so it would be enacted immediately, so we'll see.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Maybe no more conversation, we'll go to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul?
Begrudgingly, aye.
Mallory?
Bye.
I vote aye also. That motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul, and
Thank
sorry,
you, Paul.
Thank you,
All right.
planning board.
Thank you, planning board.
Moving into new business to get into before the, which you now are at 9 o'clock. We have a tentative budget schedule.
Mr. Manager, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry. So, yeah, it's been a long day. I apologize.
It's okay, I've been saying
So,
good morning to everybody.
We have put together an extensive budget schedule. We don't know if we'll need all of those. But anticipating that we have 3 new councils, there may be more questions than usual. So that being the case, I'd rather schedule them and then we can cancel them as we move through. If we don't need to, but I'd rather get them scheduled for the new councils so that they can clearly see the amount of work that's required to get into the budget process.
Seeing that, that's what we have to do. I'll make a motion that we accept the fiscal 2027 budget schedule as presented.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any conversation?
I mean, I just think just for the public, the gist is that basically we'll be tentatively planning to meet pretty much every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the month of March, to work on the budget, outside of our regular meetings.
All right, hearing no other conversation, we'll move to a vote. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0. Moving down to the next order of new business, quick claim deed. For map 7 lot 11A.
Is this the result of some of the foreclosures?
Yes, so these are the two quick claim deeds that we need to claim the property back to the, people who they are foreclosed on. And then you authorize, normally the motion is just to authorize, allow the manager to sign a quick claim deed. They've already paid in full, and this is exactly what our code talks about. Requires us.
Now move to allow the town manager to sign quick claim deed for map 7 lot 11A.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Valerie?
Aye.
I vote aye also. The next one up is quick claim deed. Map 006 lot 009. I move that we allow the town manager to sign the quick claim deed for map 006 and lot 009 as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any conversation?
Is it 9 or 9 beta B?
Map 6, lot 9.
Okay, I'm looking at the agenda, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Correction on the agenda. Okay, hearing no other conversation. Sam?
Aye.
Paul? I heard this was Valerie.
Aye.
I vote aye also. Motion passes 4-0.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
one of the two things that are different that we've updated your agenda, the council's agenda sheets. First off, you see the tracking numbers. We looked at other council, agendas throughout the area. And we found one so that, anything that would, so the clerk will assign a number for new business or old business, unfinished business. And when we go to track it, to look for something, for someone, all they have to do is start with the number. If they start with the 25 number, the clerk or us, whoever, for an FOA request, no, we're looking in the 25-minute meetings, very simple. And then the 97, 98, 99 will be concurrent, and then as with the new business, so very simple, 2601, 2602. So all our agenda items will be tagged and marked. In the future, all someone has to do is say, I'd like to get for a request for 26-01. Great, we pull it all right out. It's very simple. We found that as an improvement. The second one was on a lot of agendas, it was items for the next, agenda items for the next meeting coming from the council. So you as a body could tell us what you want if something specific needs to be on the agenda. So trying to make it more easy for you and transparent for the public. If you've got something, then you can talk about it now and tell us, put it on the agenda without trying to struggle through emails and phone calls.
Tracking numbers are awesome. Thank you. That's gonna make my life searching easier when I'm looking for something that I quote to someone and then have to go find it.
I'd like to give that, the heads up on all this and the kudos to Monique. She did all the research and did all the hard work to get it done, so she brought it to us, so it's been good job, Monique, and
Yeah.
we appreciate that.
Any other question?
Oh, no, that was, yeah, shit, it was, like it.
Items for the next meeting, other than the only one I have is putting on the agenda so we can change the time of our meeting so it matches what's on our agenda.
And the top 3 budget items.
In the top two, yes, thank you. Someone want to send me an email on that?
We'll remind you. I promise.
I thank Melissa for backing the bus over me earlier.
I have one for the next meeting. I intend to have a proposal for the community art program for us to review for our next meeting. I'll get that sent out. So it can be included in the packet. So community art program.
Okay.
Yep. Where goes?
I'd like to put the potential revisions to the employee handbook back in the next meeting. I did draft up motions. I gotta go through them one more time and I'll send them before the meeting next.
Everybody in favor of that?
Yep.
Okay. Wanna send us what you have so we can put it?
Yeah, I gotta go over it one more time. I
Yeah,
drafted a little bit.
just we need it, so anything that we need from, we need on Thursday before
Yep.
closed business. Well, no new time.
And then Sam, you wanted to talk about Bennett Law.
We're Bennett Road.
Bennett.
Yeah, I think that, I feel like that agenda item would be to schedule some sort of just
Executive
review on it. Yeah,
Well,
update, even if the update email communication, like status and what's been going on to date, I don't think it needs.
I don't know if you're gonna find much, Sam, to be honest with you. The road has been locked for years as far as, until it was brought up to town standards, nothing could be built there.
so,
Been that way for years.
so
I don't understand how we got to where we got a house being built.
Yeah, I guess that's, I'm
Right,
just
so-
foreseeing a potential issue that we will have to address, and I just want to be apprised to it.
there's not a lot at this point. It's in the hands of the attorney. That's all I can tell you. So we went backwards. It took us back to the previous attorneys. We called them. The recommendation to award that was on their recommendation. The code officer followed their recommendation and awarded that permit, correct?
Yes, there's been 2 building permits awarded on that.
Then when we called 2 or 3 months, 3 months ago, we had a meeting with our previous attorneys. And the previous attorneys answer was, I don't remember. I don't know why I told you that was okay. I don't remember. I don't know. There's no email tracking of that. There's no, he remembers the conversation. He said he remembered the conversation. But he didn't, for some reason, document that. I don't know why.
But there's something with the current attorney related to it.
What's that?
There is something with the current attorney related to it.
Yeah, so then we took that
Would be,
information.
what is that something?
Alright, that's what I'm gonna tell you. So we took that information. And then we turned that around, gave it to the new attorney, said, with DiCarlo, we said, here's our ordinance, here's what the code enforcement officer saw, here's what planning is looking at, here's what happened, this is this. And he said, okay, let me look at all of this. And then he came back, we had a meeting with Ben, correct? The current attorney. And you'll have to refresh my memories and details, but he said the way to do this is that we need to correct
The language.
the language in the current standards that we have, the code standards, correct?
And so it's clear that everybody understands it the exact same way.
Right.
Understand what?
The ordinance.
The
What
ordinance.
does the ordinance currently say?
I would encourage everybody to read the
Yeah, I think we should
section.
have
It's
this
140 dash.
All right, yes, agenda item.
I would, it's under access, it's Carla, do you know that, I think it's 140-70H under access.
It's,
I think
that sounds
it's-
right.
It's.
Yeah, this section. There's a couple sections, but the main section that you're referring to is 140-70.H access. But you also are going to look at our non-conforming section, which is 140-5E, I believe, non-conforming lots. I'm not involved with the issuing of permits, only involved with making sure that everything is clarified in the current ordinance, that make sure that everyone there could be no misinterpretation or misunderstanding of what the ordinance says. And so working with Ben, our current attorney, we're putting forward some legislation just to make sure that we're clarifying this is the intent of the section, and this is so there's no misunderstanding and interpretation.
That's the whole update right there. That's where it's at right now.
And that actually has been sent to the planning board, and they'll start to just look at that at their meeting tomorrow, but they'll be taking it up at a workshop at probably the next meeting.
So there's no open or pending appeals related to those building permits.
No.
That answer the question or?
I don't know yet.
Okay,
I'll move on. I got other stuff.
so moving on from there, that takes care of all the new business.
I do have one
sorry.
item, sorry, are we gonna talk about Railroad Ave at the next meeting? Or
That's not up to me, it's up to you. I don't have it on the agenda. If you want it on the agenda.
I thought we had talked about.
We had talked about it, I can put options and so the board can put their priorities down. Basically, that's where we are, like, the board needs to make a decision on. What are your priorities for the site? Do you want to clean it up? Do you want it to be used for affordable housing and a mix of services? Do you want to just sell it? And once we get those options, once we get your priorities, then we can give you a list of other options. At the next meeting, we'll staff will provide basically, hey, this is our recommendation for the site. Which number one is make sure it is cleaned up for priorities. But we are envisioning, I can just tell you right now, I'm not gonna go into it because you're at the very end of your meeting. That one of our proposed priorities is making sure some type of affordable housing and services get built at no cost to us. The town.
Well, we can put it on the agenda for next meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is,
I don't wanna discuss it too much, because it's.
Right, I mean, we'd also talked about getting people the report that that the consultants had done for SMPC, which.
Yep.
Is, not so dense, but.
No.
People can get up to date on what has happened.
We can send that out tomorrow, the next day,
Sure.
send it tomorrow.
And I think, I understood that on the railroad ag topic, one of the first next steps for us was an appraisal.
It can be an appraisal, so if you are just gonna sell the land, an appraisal would happen with the sale of the
Okay.
land, and then you don't have to worry about it, but.
It's not just like a requirement period to do the appraisal.
No,
Okay.
it has to do with, you have to choose what you want to do with the land, then that decision happens, if you need to get an appraisal now, rather than.
All right. So we got the agenda item done. I move we go into executive session 1, MSRA 4056D, contract negotiations.
Second,
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
I
Aye. This is contract negotiations and executive session. Please make sure you leave all electronic devices on your desk.